Cuffari will be speaking to us on the role of the community ritualist.
You know, one of the wonders about being a celebrant in 21st century America is seeing the juxtaposition of this ultra-modern world that we live in, BlackBerries and all the things that you know about that eternally connect us to everyone, against the matrix, the ancient matrix of community. This is because despite the fact that there's a lot of talk about alienation between neighbors, how we don't talk over the fence to each other, how we don't hang out on the porch and talk the way our parents did in their communities. And it's true to a great extent, but these are still groups of human beings living tribal lives. They overlap and they intersect. You think about things like block parties, football games, elementary school, churches. These are things that bring people, the people that we serve, together in communities. Not just their neighborhoods, but essentially the neighborhoods and beyond. And this all provides tribal context. And this is a big deal to me as a ritualist and celebrant, because I studied celebrancy because I was always enamored and kind of wrapped into ritual and symbolism. And so I see myself as a ritualist celebrant or celebrant ritualist. Despite the pace of life, despite the 4,000 media messages we get every day, despite the internet, we are and we're surrounded by human beings with primordial psyches that share the need to connect, the need for affirmation, for human contact, and for loving support. These things never change, and they never go away. They're exactly the same inside of me, my being, as they were in that of an Italian immigrant in 1912, or a Viking warrior, or a medieval French fishmonger's wife. You know, it doesn't matter. They're the same human beings. They have the same needs. We're all the same. There's that sense of the divine in each of us. Obviously, there are critical points of transformation and passage in every life. And just because in today's world fewer of them are formally recognized and acknowledged, that just means that there's greater psychic vacuums that have to be fulfilled, and hence celebrancy. That's what we do. You know, many formal rites of passage have lost their teeth. They become like mere placeholders for events that used to have incredible power and meaning. And all of us as celebrants understand this and have discussed this to death, okay? But this, in essence, is what we're all about. But my point is that we're here to serve our community as much as any clergy or any civic service organization or public protectors. So this means that the role we're fulfilling is a timeless one, and one symbolically charged by the archetypes that we embody in our role. The role of the healer, of the magician, of the sage. It sounds, you know, like a big deal, but it's really true. I mean, Jung had this pinned down. These are roles that we all inhabit. And the people that we serve inhabit these roles too, at different times in their lives. And they're not just symbolically tied to celebrancy, these roles. A very powerful example is that of the magician, the power to name. Just as, you know, the question was named, that now we are a question. Now we are in a place of exploring inquiry. That takes a person, a ritualist, to say, okay, we are now doing that. And the group, because they've opened their hearts and minds, are like, okay, now we're doing that. It's a leadership and guiding role. So this is a power that we have to name things and call things what they are, to invoke memory, to invoke awareness and focus and sanctity and sacredness, allowing us, by performing rituals, to change negative or neutral circumstances into positive and healthy ones. It's really some powerful juju, you know? We influence our communities by consciously exploring and serving that symbiotic relationship between inner and outer worlds, because rituals fulfill this psychic need that all of us have, to have someone guide us through these worlds, because we're going to have to travel them. It is more important now than ever before in history to perform the duty of a celebrant and a ritualist, because although our communities do certainly exist, the individuals who make up these communities are stressed to the max. They're tugged in all these different directions. They're pulled every way all the time. They're fragmented. They're alienated. They're overwhelmed with data and information, and they're subject to convulsive transformations because the world changes rapidly. And physiologically, we're built to work for a few hours, eat, rest, work for a few hours, eat, sleep, and we know we don't live that way. In long-established faith traditions, despite the best efforts of mainline denominations and such, in our society there's a large-scale turning away from these once reliable and potent sources of grounding and spiritual comfort. How many times do people approach me about celebrancy or any celebrant telling me they have no church, no faith connection? Because I always begin when people come to me, I say, do you have a faith tradition? Have you talked to your priest or rabbi or minister? I always throw that out there because I want to be sure that they want to be talking to me. I spoke to a graduate seminar, Jew Theological Seminary. I was asked to speak about the role of the modern, the ritual in the modern world. And I was confronted with a challenge by students who were on the verge of being ordained as priests, a Methodist and an Episcopalian. They said, when we marry someone, it's somebody who we know from our congregation. And we see them every week. And after we marry them, we see them every week. And what do you do that? And I basically said, no, that's not my function. People come to me because you all have dropped the ball somewhere in somebody's life. And no offense meant, but there's not a connection. And how many times does an experienced minister or priest find out that someone in his congregation or her congregation has gotten divorced and they knew nothing about it? We're there to fulfill the need in the moment, and we can't really question that. And that's why we should really take great pride in our work. It's a noble profession. With gratitude and humility, we serve these people who very honestly and very obviously need us. Often they turn to us because their psyches cry out for process. Help me get through this. I need to get through this liminal experience, go from here to there, and they don't really see a clear alternative. And the reason I'm laying this groundwork out is that I personally focus on more spiritual and altruistic aspects of celebrancy. And I'm certainly not suggesting that any celebrant who focuses on marketing and business and fee structure, that's very valid and very deserved and very important. Even a tribal shaman is remunerated for her work. But it's just that I have come to understand in my own personal practice that the need people have in their lives for what we can provide transcends the commercial aspects in a few critical and vital ways. I believe that beyond the work of wedding celebrancy or funeral celebrancy are unique opportunities for creating rituals and rites of passage that might be below our radar. I've personally had the privilege of creating a ceremony for a client who had survived decades of mental illness, and she was retiring from work, and she wanted to honor her struggles and her survival and her career and look forward to the future as a crone, as a wise woman. I've been asked to create a new life ritual for a woman whose husband drove her cross-country to grad school and then told her he wanted a divorce. And she wanted to start fresh after a year of being at school as an adult, cross-country, and she had no money, and I knew that. And she was hesitant to ask me, but I knew that she was a great baker. And I am a oatmeal cookie junkie. You can have, I will paint your house for the right amount of oatmeal cookies. So this is what it was about. I've done connective string rituals for families whose kids are leaving college for the first time, and we create bracelets and do all this. And I'm not trying to express that I'm special and I'm holier than anybody or anything like that. It's just that a part of my personality is such that my compassion is easily fed by my love of creating and performing rituals. I will do a ritual at the drop of a hat. You're painting a garage. You want to celebrate the new garage. I'll come over and do that. Okay. I've come to believe that in nearly every house, in every neighborhood, in every community, there are opportunities for celebrancy to thrive and blossom as we help people on their individual and corporate journeys through life. We are the helpers and the guides that are so crucial in the hero's journey. And every awake and mindful human being is going to make that journey, is going to need help at some point. So by all means, earn your living as a celebrant. Charge what you're worth, because you're worth a lot. And although sometimes the service you're providing is invaluable, and if you're lucky, you'll have the occasional opportunity to work for cookies. If we see ourselves as neighborhood ritualists serving our beloved communities, then we'll truly be the healing magicians of the 21st century. We have the power to transform lives by creating rituals and ceremonies that, by their very nature, open hearts to forgiveness, connectivity, honor, and love with a power that is far beyond those we wield as mere human beings. So, that's my shtick. One final note. Please remember that in our work, we can be tools of inclusivity, jumping over issues of race and gender and class and political and all those evil divisive lines that separate us. We can be forces for tolerance and wholeness and peacemaking. May it be so.